Yeah, that's the amended stuff, Ramsey, from I see.
You don't want to ask me that. I'll do it. Well, so they're not, yeah, for the year. All good. You have to. They're coming back. You did.
Yep, and it is, but that will impact. Or it is.
Right.
Because otherwise it's the cost.
You're ready, I'm ready. About 6 now. Ready, council? Ready. I call to order the city council meeting for February 16th, 2026. I ask that you rise with me for the pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Beck, would you please call roll for us?
Present.
Wilmot,
Present.
Naktrab,
Here.
Walker. Present. Murphy.
Present. Next is the consent agenda, and it's the February 2nd, 2026 regular session city council meeting minutes, as well as acknowledge a receipt of certain administrative transactions that have occurred since February 2nd, 2026. Please also acknowledge a receipt of the January 2026 revenue and expenditures report. Also, if you wish to have questions on this, we can take this out, otherwise leave it in, and it's the approval of the Bayfront Water fireworks display permit for July 4th, 2026, as well as approve a private Bay Harbor fireworks display permit for August 8th, 2026. Council, do you have questions, comments, or a motion? Mr. Moore.
I do have a constituent question relative to item E, the private Bay Harbor fireworks display.
Okay. And you have a question?
Sure, I didn't know if you wanted to bump it out of the consent agenda.
Would you like to take it out of the consent agenda?
It doesn't matter to me. I can present the question now.
It's up to council if you wanted to pull it out.
Yeah.
Council, huh?
Feel free to present it right now.
Okay. The constituent's question relative to E was, are there a yearly cap on private requests such as this, or are these apps just granted as long as all requirements are met? I think she's probably looking toward the potential where you could, I guess, have a number of these requests, so.
I'm gonna ask City Manager Horn to define what's involved with the private Bay Harbor fireworks display question.
Thank
and,
you.
How we handle permits.
Thank you.
So we haven't been consistent with this on both sides. I think we finally have instructed Bay Harbor folks, the Inn at Bay Harbor Company, when there's a event that has commercial grade fireworks, we do need to sign off as the local municipality. So they are aware of that now. I think going forward, there should be no surprises going forward. We have to submit this onto the state. The local governing body, signs off on that, approves it. As far as a cap, I don't know of any sort of cap. That's really up to the discretion of you all. If you wanted to, not approve something if it's getting a little too much. I think last year we only had one, I believe, and maybe Councilmember Naktrab, you can fill us in on that, but there was one that we did not get to permit, which came out as a surprise. Public safety went out, and we had a few complaints regarding that. So going forward, I think we have a good mechanism now to make sure that that doesn't reoccur. Yeah, but we would be responsible as the entity to fulfill any sort of noise ordinance violations. Obviously, Resort Township does the zoning for Bay Harbor. So if there's any sort of special event permit, that would come from Resort Township. But ultimately, we would be responsible to go out and address any sort of ordinance violations, noise. We've had cases where the music at Brandy's was a little too loud, and so we would get noise complaints. We handle those, public safety handles those. So this would be very similar. As far as a cap, I don't really know how many to expect, but we can kind of see how that proceeds.
What is the process if I want to have fireworks in my backyard? What do I have to do? Just fill out a sheet of paper and turn it in? I mean, is there a fee? Who monitors it? Is there a time schedule?
The city gets no fee on this process. There's, by ordinance, you are allowed a certain number of days to shoot off fireworks. Obviously, the reason why this is a permitted process is because it's outside of those days, and this is commercial grade fireworks. So this permit is a kind of a permit that's provided by the state. There's a section for us to fill out, and so we sign that, submit it on to the state, and then this is a barge is involved, so the Coast Guard is also involved and permits that as well in this case, so.
Again, so can I get a permit to do fireworks in my backyard? I mean, is it permissible?
I mean, if you're having like an event or just
Birthday party?
not without us signing off on it.
And how do we determine what we sign off for? and what we
That's
don't?
this body's decision.
That's what we need to make some decisions in the future. Mr. Moore,
Yeah, can I just ask a quick follow-up question?
please.
And maybe Shane, with due respect, you haven't been here any longer than I have, so I don't know, maybe Sarah knows. Have we ever had a request like this before from a private entity for a commercial display?
Not since I've been here. Obviously, there was one that shot off. We got had a number of complaints, so we're trying to stay ahead of those this time. So folks will know if this is approved, and we can put it on our website or whatever. So folks with pets that are prone to loud noises and things like that can make sure that they're addressed sufficiently. But if this is approved, we can always put that on our website the night of, I forgot the date, August 8th. Fireworks will be going off between 9:30 and 10:30 or whatever the time frame is, so we can kind of let residents know about that.
Mr. Knobtrop.
I got a little bit involved in this from the one that happened this summer. And there's been some confusion. I think one of the questions I have is when Tina asked about private, I mean, aren't they all technically private? The city isn't actually doing it on the July 4th. It's the application is under the Rotary Club or something. So I'm wondering what the difference between public and private is. What's the difference between a wedding or the Bay Harbor Yacht Club or I'm a little confused about that. But from what I've gathered, this summer, there was some confusion as to who was the reporting place to go. Because I personally got involved in this a little bit, and they didn't know that they were supposed to come to the city. They thought they was just a Resort Township. And then I got in, when I saw this on the agenda for tonight, I got involved again to try to head this off so that nobody was complaining. And it's the same issue, is that there are rules on this. Insurance, there's got to be insurance, there's got to be safe distances. Putting it in your backyard doesn't seem to be anything nearly as safe as putting it out on a barge somewhere properly done. Commercial people do it. These guys have been doing it for years and years. So it seems like there's rules already established on it. But this time, we're all following, we in Bay Harbor, in Bay Harbor are trying to do it the right way. No one's trying to bypass
Are you a
it.
part of this? You say we
No,
are.
I
you
didn't
a
mean-
part- Is this part you?
No, I meant because I tend to represent Bay Harbor a lot of times, and I know all the people. I know the guy who's doing it for the wedding on August 8th. I knew the people who did it last year. It's a small little neighborhood over there.
Mr. Moore?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Wilmot, go ahead.
Mr. Moore?
Um, I personally don't have any problem moving this forward. I mean, I looked at their perimeter is 450 feet, ours in the city is 350. They have shells that are a little bit bigger, 6 inches are 5 inches. Their bond is 5 million, ours is 10 million. I don't have a problem moving this forward. I just want to kind of have it on our radar that if we're setting some kind of precedent that, you know, we just have it on our radar going forward, should we receive.
And hopefully the precedent is if you are going to shoot fireworks off commercial grade, you need to go through us. And so there's no more of this, you know, Saturday night firework display without us knowing about it and without you all knowing about it. And then we can notify residents of that as well. Same thing with July 3rd. Every year now, they'll have to go through the same process and they're working on that right now.
What is the time on the Bay Harbor private one? They must have a time that they.
9:30
Yeah, I
PM.
think it's 9:30 start.
Tell.
Approximately 9:30, I think, till 10 is what they listed. It was only like a half hour to 45 minutes.
Mr. Wilmot?
Well, I was pretty shocked to see this request in here. Particularly shocked to see it in the consent agenda. And so I went back and I looked at the ordinance, which was updated in 2019, as you may recall, Mr. Mayor. And the restrictions that are put on fireworks in the ordinance, I thought applied to all fireworks. In point of fact, it only refers to retail fireworks shot off by individuals. And there are 5 dates, I believe 5, maybe 6, and timeframes in which they're allowed to shoot off. And frankly, I was very content with that to be the limitation of fireworks displays. But there is another paragraph in the ordinance that says that associations or groups of individuals could submit an application to shoot off commercial grade, or actually they call it display grade fireworks with the local municipality. It's both a state law and it's also incorporated into the updated 2019 ordinance. So I was surprised to see that. And I think we are establishing a precedent that groups can decide to petition the city to shoot off fireworks at dates and times that are not previously authorized in the ordinance for individuals. And I have some concerns with that. And establishing that precedent with this request opens us up to a broad series of requests. And that is in accordance with the way that the ordinance is currently written. But again, I want to register my concern of that.
I don't know about precedents because city council can determine different parameters, individuals that can et cetera. We have the real ability to change any of that without worrying about precedents, I don't believe.
Allow me to clarify. We're establishing a precedent that we are open to accepting these applications.
There you go. Mr. Moore?
Well, and I would just say that when you say yes to one private party, and there again, we can talk about private versus public, you do in a sense set up a precedent. And it depends, yes, you're absolutely right, if they want to do it at 11 o'clock in the morning or something. But I think it's important to, again, have on our radar going forward.
We can revisit this and we have the opportunity, as City Manager Horn stated, we as council have the prerogative to set standards and to set for what parameters that we feel we want to work with individuals. So it's up to city council. Mr. Knobtrop.
And I'm great with all that. I think having some standard of safety and all that is probably the most important thing. Noise is a consideration. I'm a little reluctant as I'm sensing that we can kind of pick and choose. It would seem to me that we ought to set up a policy regardless of where it is and who it is and what it is. If it's, I mean, fireworks are cool and they're nice. And as long as they're properly done in a safe manner, I don't see the big deal about it.
I think time constrictions, restrictions of times, I think, I know the one at Bay Harbor went on for an hour. And I got calls from people and I could understand why when it was at the hours of the night that they were. So to say, you know, I think there is some concerns and I think city council should revisit this. Set it up on the agenda for the future and take a look and decide what do we want for our citizens in the city of Petoskey, which includes Bay Harbor. Mr. Wilmot.
I would agree with that, and I would be reluctant to approve this at this time before consideration of that policy. Because I do think we are, if we approve this, then we're saying we don't need a policy to approve these going forward.
We already have a policy, I believe that's the process, is that
Oh,
correct,
the
Mr.
application.
Horn?
Yeah.
We already have a policy.
No, I meant in terms of whether or not we would accept applications for fireworks displays outside of the existing dates that are specified in the ordinance. Now, I would agree.
With you on some of that. I believe what we've also, what we have set for a precedence now should be respected until at which time it's changed. I feel, you know, I'm not thrilled about listening to fireworks on August 8th at 10:30 at night. But at the same point, if we have already have in place a measuring stick for this, I feel we need to honor it. If we want to come afterwards and change our parameters on this, then I think we should do that. But I think this one has been followed through with what they're supposed to do. Like it or not, they followed through and they're doing what they're supposed to do for this. And I have trouble refusing it, knowing that we have already set up a policy and they've gone and did the homework. They've have the Coast Guard, they have the involvement with Bay Harbor, with Resort Township. They've already been doing this to meet what we asked for. I don't think it's fair to pull the rug out from whoever they are without having a better policy. Mr. Moore.
Did I miss though what the policy is? I mean, I guess I was hearing we've got a procedure that we follow.
It's an ordinance. We have an ordinance.
Okay, that's what you were referencing.
The ordinance doesn't specify the policy in terms of bonds and all of that kind of thing. What it says is that applications by associations or groups of individuals may be addressed to public safety for review. That's all the ordinance says.
Well, they have a policy of following, I'm sure, on what the state fireworks ordinance is for size, distance away from buildings, traffic. I know traffic and roadway is a situation with our, Mr. Wilmot.
Yeah, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but there are, on the one hand, a lot of people love fireworks, but there are a lot of people that don't love fireworks. And in honor of some of those people that are veterans, for instance, that may have issues with fireworks going off, and pet owners that have issues with fireworks going off, I would hate to get to a point where we're just saying anybody that wants to and can pay for a commercial display can submit their application to the city and arrange a date and a time to do it outside of the specific defined dates that are currently in the ordinance for normal individuals. So I would suggest that this.
And I think we should revisit this as city council. If we want to change the parameters on what we're looking for fireworks, we should. But this falls within the parameters that were adopted. Mr. Knobtrop.
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. It's, for me, it's about a safety issue. And if we want to revisit a policy or get it more defined, we ought to do that. I see no reason not to go ahead with this application as presented. And immediately, if we're going to do any changes, let's immediately put that on a radar and look at the policy.
I concur. Anybody else? Ms. Walker?
Other than maybe we should pull these out of the consent agenda and vote on them individually, both the cities request for the fireworks display as well as the permit for the August 8th event.
Do I have a motion to pull those two out of the consent agenda to put them on as a line item for, under new business?
Yes, I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I support.
I have a motion from Ms. Walker, a second from Mr. Knobtrop to pull out,
Mr.
or sorry, Mr. Wilmot, to pull out D and E, which is the Bayfront, Park fireworks display for July 4th, as well as the Bay Harbor fireworks display for August 8th. And we'll move that, if supported, we'll move that to new business, which will come after, what, old business, I guess. After old business. Ms. Walker,
Mayor, I have a question about the check register.
wait. I need a motion to move, to change the agenda.
We-
Any other comments or questions about moving that?
So there already was. Walker moved to pull them both out,
Yes,
vote separately
yes.
to new business, and Wilmot seconded.
Seconded it,
We have
yes.
motion is second, so
Could you do
all
a,
in favor. Mhm.
do a roll?
Thank you, sir.
Walker,
Yes.
Wilmot.
Yes.
Knocktроп,
Nay,
Demore,
Aye.
and Murphy.
Aye. Motion passes 4-1. So we will pull that and put both of those, D and E, under following old business. Okay. Now, I'm looking for a motion for A, B, and C, which is the administrative report, council minutes and expenditures.
I have a question before I make a
Please,
motion. Thank you.
please.
So on the check register on page 12,
Hang on, let everybody get page 12. Okay,
and then there's another line item further on page 15, but is it safe to assume that the $41,000 accrued by Dunkel Excavating is just for snow removal services from the downtown area to the Standish Road gas station dumping area?
That depends on the account number it's being charged to. Dunkel also helps us during water main breaks, excavating for those, but it depends how it's classed. It does appear most of those are hauling of snow, whether it's parking lots downtown.
Do you want the accounts?
Water.
form?
You know what, Shane, I can follow up with Audrey with those numbers specifically to get my drill down answer. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I
if you have
think
a specific one, I do have the chart of accounts, so if you
It's
have.
all the the contracted services vary and there's many of them, so I don't want to. I noticed, I did the tally and I was assuming it was for the removal of snow from downtown parking lots to the Standish Avenue, Darrell Oil.
yeah, there's 4 or 5 counts,
Yeah.
numbers, 4 count numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it's downtown, it's streets, it's, if it's obviously utilities, that's another line item. So we can certainly get you all those breakdowns. But most of it likely is hauling snow.
Thank you. And then can I ask another
Please.
real question to that? In terms of like how we budget for that annually, would that be snow removal services allotted to the downtown management board or to DPW, depending on what pot of money those would come from?
Yeah, like if if they're hauling downtown, that's obviously charged to downtown management budget. In their for their meeting tomorrow, I was looking through their packet. Last year at this time, they spent 63,000. This year it's 98,000. So that kind of tells you, and we're seeing the same thing in the streets. It's obviously been more of a, maybe a little bit more than a traditional year from that standpoint. So it's, yeah, a little heavier.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Wilmot,
Quick question on page 18 of the check register. There are three transactions totaling approximately $8,000 for Petoskey Land and Cattle, and I'm curious to know the nature of those expenses.
That was a duplicate tax payment. Let me see.
Oops.
Yeah, it was a refund for a tax overpayment.
Thank you.
Yep.
I move for acceptance of the consent agenda as amended.
Support.
A motion from Mr. Wilmot, second from Mr. Moore. Any other comments, council? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Wilmot,
Yes.
Moore,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye. Next is the opportunity for public comment. If there's something on the agenda that you feel you can stay for and present at that time or comments, that would be great. Otherwise, you have the opportunity to address council now. You'll go to the podium. Make sure it's on green. You'll have an opportunity to speak to council. Give us your full name. And the other part of it is you're going to address council. You're not going to address the audience. Does anyone wish to speak, please?
I can't stay for your next discussion on this. Christine Gebhard,
There you go.
Christine Gebhard, 618 East Mitchell Street. So this is relative to the Winter Sports Park. And I just wanted to make my first comment to say that I would not expect nor encourage the council to approve general funds for improvements at the Winter Sports Park, knowing I shouldn't say general funds, fund balance. As a retired CEO and knowing the importance of having a healthy fund balance, I would encourage you to save those dollars for unexpected expenditures. The Winter Sports Park is unique in that it is designed for winter sports. I know that now there is a daycare being held at the Winter Sports Park, and when people like myself go walking, we're told we can't walk there because of the daycare center. So while daycare is an important benefit that the city can provide, I think that access to a public park is really important for all citizens. I think improving the park, adding the tow line, improving the hockey rink, improving the facility for ice skating and the bathrooms and all of that is a worthwhile endeavor for the city. But there are many parks for citizens to use throughout the community. And it's nice to have this one park that is focused on winter activities. So I would encourage you to think carefully about spending $3, $4, $5 million to improve that for a year-round facility, especially if in that instance, citizens are not allowed to go there in the summer because of the daycare center. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak, council, at this point?
My name is Jennifer Benbow. I'm here representing my mother, who is a Petoskey resident. My mom is Ann Srigley. She's at 510 Harvey Street. She's a resident of Petoskey for 50 years, an educator in the public schools of Petoskey for 30 years. Her children, grandchildren, and students have enjoyed the Winter Sports Park, from sledding and skiing to speed skating and figure skating lessons. It's a valuable community asset with its varied activities that should be preserved for future generations. Having said that, she doesn't believe that the elaborate planned upgrades are necessary to maintain the Winter Sports Park's value for the community, particularly when we don't have $4 million to make these upgrades. The intended use of the city's emergency fund, she believes, is for unexpected emergency needs, such as the recovery activities from last year's ice storm. Maybe the city should revisit the results of the community survey, which seemingly was completed after the Winter Sports Park plans were created, not before. Listen to what the community says it needs rather than wants for the Winter Sports Park, and develop an action plan for reasonable upgrades to the park, such as a ski hill receiving bowl, a magic carpet to replace the tow rope, as well as accepting offers from knowledgeable, experienced community members, such as Mr. Russell and Mr. Munson, to continue to make it a valuable asset to the community that the city can afford without dipping into funds that weren't intended for that use. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak, council? We'll move on. I'm gonna go to city manager's report and to city manager Horn. Would you please take the lead?
Thank you, Mayor. Want to highlight a few meetings this week that are on our schedule. Tomorrow night in the community room, the Downtown Management Board, as well as the Downtown Development Authority will have a meeting that's in the community room tomorrow at 6 o'clock. The Planning Commission also meets this week at their normal date, be Wednesday at 6 o'clock in the community room as well. Wanted to really highlight and thank all of our staff that were part of our Winter Wonderland weekend, Missy and Amy downtown, and then our park staff, Ed and Tyler and JT and Dave at the Winter Sports Park. Just a wonderful weekend of activities. Got to see the annual bump jumping competition, which was really neat to see. As well as all the 40 or so ice sculptures around town. So I know that the sun and the ice sculptures didn't go well together sometimes. It prematurely melted in some cases, but it was a wonderful event. I would encourage folks to go to our downtown management, our Downtown Petoskey Facebook page. All of the sculptures are there and just did a great job. So it was a wonderful weekend. My wife and I actually, the mayor reached out to me yesterday and said, you might want to run out to the break wall and see the ice formation. So my wife and I, that's the picture all the way to the right. Kind of took some pictures along the break wall and just the neat ice formations that were out there. That was really impressive. So just a great weekend to really enjoy our winter season. Wanted to highlight, and I know Abbott is on the line, I believe as well, Abbott McCartney. He presented at our art commission meeting last week, and this is now something we can push out publicly. We will have a private art display in front of the Dancer Professional Building later this summer. The week of June 15th, we'll have a number of activities that week to highlight. This is a monument to the passenger pigeon and the history of the passenger pigeon in our region. Abbott is installing this display. One of the sculptor is Todd McGreen. He has an actual display at the Smithsonian in Washington. So we will have our own monument for the passenger pigeon in front of the Dancer Professional Building, as was presented to the Art Commission last week. So kind of look forward to the June 15th, the week of June 15th. The actual display will be on June 19th, will be unveiled on Friday, June 19th. But that week we'll have a number of activities around the community to talk about the history of the passenger pigeon in our region. So thank you, Abbott, for your investment in our community, continued investment in our community. We're excited to see that move forward. We've had at the Winter Sports Park, our Youth Advisory Council was present and provided some games for folks to participate in, a little photo booth, some face painting. I don't know, Councilmember DeMore, if you want to kind of piggyback on some of those activities. I know you were there.
Yeah, we also have two members that were there as well, Eliza Roger and Anya Peck. I think they're in some of the pictures. So yeah, there was just a toss thing there to win suckers and face painting and a photo booth, and they had quite a few customers. I think the assessment was that it went well and like to do it again next year. Am I right? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to answer any questions at this time.
Just walking.
The question I really wanted to ask you, Shane, is did you ride a bump jumper?
I did not. The family that was there, I can't remember their.
The Mullers?
Mullers. They were pros. They all did a great job. I was very impressed.
I'll be dropping off a bump jumper onto Lindell. There'll be time.
There you go.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Moving right along, see for appointments, consideration of appointment to the planning commission. Look forward to you. I've talked to several of you in the past. Bring to you Ted Paul. Has been on city council. He has been a past mayor. He's been on the planning commission in the past. I bring him forward if you have questions, comments. He's lived in Petoskey 35 years. Understands the diligence and the work needed to do a good job on the planning commission. He's interested in continuing the future openings for the next year. Yes. Mr. Wilmot.
I move for the acceptance of Ted Paul for nomination to the planning commission.
Support.
I have a motion from Mr. Wilmot, a second from Ms. Demore. Any other discussion? Ms. Walker.
Yeah, it says here, Mayor, for, it's to fill a vacated term. Who vacated planning commission? Oh.
Mr. Wilmot.
Oh. Got it, thanks.
I wish we'd
You're not
find
proper.
more, I wish we'd find more experienced people.
Ms. Demore.
Yeah, I just want to say I very much appreciate, I know Ted's sitting right in front of me, but very much appreciate your preparation and your commitment to this endeavor, the whole zoning thing and continuing on when you weren't on the planning commission. So thank you.
Any other discussion? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Wilmot,
Yes.
Demore,
Aye.
Walker,
No.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Murphy.
Motion passes 4-1. Now, what we've all come here for. Old business, for the discussion, Winter Sports Park Master Plan and possible adoption of the proposed resolution approving the plan. Ms. Walker, since you went to the public, I know I saw emails from you. I thought I would clarify a couple things. I know you made a statement that I somehow didn't know what a master plan was. But I will read on numerous things that show on internet that city council has the authority to reject, modify, or approve recommendations from a park and recreation committee regarding a master plan. There's multiple statements in the public that help to identify that. Just as I know, Ms. Walker, when we are going to be reviewing zoning, which are the recommendations from the planning commission, I have a feeling you're not going to be, you may speak out against some of those and say that shouldn't be in the plan, in the zoning. And it's kind of the same way. Planning commissions give us the recommendations, Parks and Rec, Planning Commission, they give the recommendations to the people that are elected to make the decisions. And we have the right to modify, reject, addition, or change, what's best for the city. And by that, I can give you an example. Somebody could put in there that they want a 4-seat chairlift going up to Washington, up to the Winter Sports Park. If that was in there, I'm sure most all of us would say, that's not practical, no. And it would be removed if the council supported that. So it's really up to the council to make decisions on recommendations that come from Planning Commission, Cemetery, Parks and Rec, all those groups or boards and commissions. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Horn for moving forward on this.
Thank you, Mayor. This is, again, is continued discussion. We tried to capture your initial comments back on February 2nd. And the draft that's in your packet hopefully captures some of that. Obviously, continued discussion will kind of continue to mold this plan, if you will. I will just preface that this is a plan. None of this is cast in stone. These items will maneuver into our capital improvement plan. There's no mechanism here financially to do any of these projects as we stand right now. So we're not writing a $4 million check and going going to do all these projects. That's not what this is about. This is a plan for the future. As finances materialize, as things come together, we will slowly merge these projects into our capital improvement plan. It'll come back before this body, like all capital improvement projects do, and you'll be able to chime in during that process. Obviously, those projects will get bid out and we'll see what true cost looks like. So there's multiple times that you're gonna have a chance to review any of these items going forward. Just because potentially we adopt this plan doesn't mean that we're going tomorrow to do all these projects. So I just wanted to preface that that comment. Again, similar to a lot of other things, capital improvement plan is a plan. It's a projection of potential projects going forward. This is very similar. We've tried to capture feedback on multiple community engagement efforts. And I would just say there's different varying opinions on how we've done as far as community engagement goes. My hope is we can move forward and try to make this plan the best it can be going forward, and not look in the rearview mirror on potentially how we got here, but how do we improve going forward. Kendall is here, our Parks and Rec director. I'll have him come up and be available for your questions and give his input as our Parks and Recreation professional. Obviously, the Parks and Recreation Commission has reviewed the document as well. I know we had some back and forth on some of the changes, and if you wanted that to go back to Parks and Rec Commission, certainly that could happen if that's a desire of this body, for the Parks and Rec Commission to kind of review any sort of modifications or changes to this plan that they initially reviewed. So I'll just kind of open up the floor for the council to provide input. Kendall can come on up to the podium and be available between, to hopefully be able to answer questions and provide additional context.
One of the things that I came across in research on master plans is, should be a proposed ranking list of the projects based in the plan. That should be a priority ranking list.
There is.
Also, there should be, this potential source for funding should be listed in there of what the funding sources would be. If there is a project that's above and beyond that the public wants, expensive, expensive, high vision project, it should be included in the Parks and Rec master plan, but it should generally be categorized as separate from the immediate priorities due to the long-term wish list of it. And that could be a 5 and 10 year plan wish list. But that anything that is high vision, ultra expensive projects should be listed separately because those have no funding for them. But that's all I'm going to say about this, and I'm going to turn over to Mr. Wilmot.
Thank you, Mayor. Parks and Rec has done a great deal of work on this, and my hat's off to the process that they've been through, and to the fine citizens on the Parks and Rec and to staff. I know this has been somewhat of an arduous journey, and I just want you to know that I think the council shares their appreciation and the importance of Winter Sports Park and getting it right. That having been said, and I see that you've made some modifications, suggested activity sequencing. And I know you pulled some things out because of the response by the council previously. and you've added a couple of things. So I guess my question is, first of all, I agree with the mayor that we need to be careful not to pipe dream. This is a visionary document, master plan, but everything in it should be practical and achievable. Otherwise, we end up getting a junkyard at the end of the CIP in 7 years of projects that linger for years because they have no funding and there's no practical application for them. And every year, we keep going through those projects and kicking the can down the road. And I don't think that's the intention of Parks and Rec, and shouldn't be the intention of a master plan going forward. It should be doable, achievable. So in that regard, although we don't have funding in place, there should be a mind's eye toward the ability to fund these projects going forward, not total pipe dreams. That being said, I see that put back in snowmaking and maintenance for maintenance building for groomer, ice making equipment and so forth. I guess what I like to know now is, with these revisions, is the Parks and Rec Commission, is this the plan that they are asking council to approve? It doesn't have a pavilion in it. That seems to have been eliminated from the list of potential projects. But is this not only the plan that Parks and Rec wants us to approve now, but is this the priorities that, as established here, these are the priorities they wish us to address in the CIP going forward? Thank you.
Well, this sequencing and this component list is different from when it was originally presented to Parks and Rec. However, in their resolution, they did understand that these items could change and the plan could change. So what I will say is, we have a 5-year Park and Recreation Master Plan. That's kind of our guiding document, right? That in our 2025 needs assessment. The 5-year master plan was last approved in 2023, and it will need to be resubmitted to the state in 2028. So next year, we're going to be going through another process to redo our comprehensive Park and Recreation Master Plan, okay? So when I look at the current approved Parks and Recreation Master Plan, the bulk of these items are part of our existing Park and Recreation Master Plan. The renovations to the building, our deck, accessibility improvements, the regrading of the hill, the tow rope, the hockey rink, all of those items are captured in our current 2025, or I'm sorry, our 2023 master plan. So what isn't in the master plan is, snowmaking equipment and some of those big ticket items that you referenced. So once this is ultimately approved, next year, these items, whatever this version is, these items will be incorporated into our 5-year as we go out for public input to upgrade our Parks and Recreation Master Plan that's going to have to come before you in January of 2028. So does that make sense? Like, a lot of the stuff that's in here, we already have identified as items to focus on through the 5-year master plan.
Mr. Moore.
I have a lot of questions because constituents who plan to be at the work session that we canceled. So I will start with something and then I'll interject questions as other people want me to take a turn. But the first thing I want to talk about is what I see to be something important and missing. So I see that under item 10, we've listed multipurpose sports field. And I see on the drawing that there's an ice rink, but I don't see where we're designating that the rink that we will have there is the very popular and historically important part of the winter sports park that is the 250-meter oval. So my ask would be that, it's my understanding it's the only remaining, and people who know more than I do can pipe in on this, but it's my understanding it's the only remaining outdoor 250-meter ice rink in Michigan. I would like that size to be included as part of this master plan so that we know that that historical aspect of the park that means a lot to a lot of people will be maintained. So I'm wondering if that would be something we could do.
Well, of course, it would just have to, weather permitting, of course. But.
Of course.
But that could be, I mean, that's, you know, we could just redefine that number 10 as to the multipurpose sports field slash ice rink, 250-meter ice, however we want to word it. But as I understood from the last meeting, that was the intention of, you know, doing extra work in that skating area with improving, you know, improving the drainage, perhaps some elevation changes, so we're able to manage that, you know, that storm water a little bit, or the water that runs through there a little bit better. So that was just that would just be a change that would easily fall into this.
Well, and I'm only one voice, so I'd have to have the concurrence of my colleagues, but that would be an ask that I have for the plan. Should I go ahead with some questions?
Sure.
Yes, okay. One of the questions I've had a lot is about the portable tow rope. And kind of, I'll just give you all the questions around that. Like, why wouldn't we just keep a stationary tow rope in the existing location? Do we have the human power needed to have a portable, movable tow rope? Does it only go half the way up? And why can't we just fix what we have? Those are the,
Okay, well.
I can repeat them when you need them.
There really is no fixing what we have.
Okay.
That tow rope system is, I believe, close to 70 years old. The motor, it doesn't work. There's a flywheel up on top that actually spins the rope. We had our state inspector on site for an hour and a half this past fall, and we couldn't even get it started. So there are some electrical issues that need to be defined. So I think it's best practice if we modernize our you know, tow rope system. The portable tow rope system is something that we did stumble across. Boyne has used it in the past. If it's good enough for Boyne, it should be good enough for us. And there was also discussion pertaining to the location of the tow rope to be able to service the sledding side and the hillside, whereas what we have now, you know, the tow rope will essentially focus on the larger hill, which would be for skiing or snowboarding or tubing or whatever. So it gives us an opportunity to kind of get the best of both worlds by there will need to be some grading that will have to happen to the hill to try to get it more flat and funneled toward the more closer to the parking lot, because right now that hill does angle into the wooded area. So to do this the right way, I think that we have an opportunity just to reimagine that, and we would have the ability to have that tow rope go all the way up to the top. So it wouldn't be, there might be two tow ropes. There might be one to take you to the sledding hill, and then you get off that one and you get on another one to take you to the top. That isn't uncommon. So hopefully that answered your question pertaining to the tow ropes.
The last one was like man or woman power.
Oh, well, it will require some more staff. You do need to have someone, no matter what type of system you have, it will require someone to be at the top of the rope with an emergency, push button in the event that somebody, you know, has some trouble. Is it something that we can overcome? I mean, I hope so. You know, you know, the winter sports park, as great as it is certainly it's a high maintenance property. You know, we're often there from 7 o'clock in the morning to 10, 11 o'clock at night. But if this is an investment that the city wants to make, we'll certainly find a way to get the appropriate staffing.
At one time, in the past, there was a rope tow where it is now. And people rode up there for sledding as well as for skiing. There was up at the top was a large rope that said skiing this way, sledding that way, and you simply walked from the top, you walked along the side and sled down the hill on the side. That seemed to work in the past years ago. I know that was how the city did it years ago. So the rope tow went all the way up to where it is now. And you got off. If you sled, you just walked down to the sledding hill and the skiers skied, but they're just giving you some history.
Yeah, I mean, you know, once we get some direction, we can configure it, you know, how we want. If it's best to be put on one side or the other, then we can certainly do that.
Is it the cost of a portable versus the cost of just putting something permanent in there where it used to be? What's the angles on that?
We haven't done that cost analysis to put something back the way that we have it now.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. There aren't many ski tow manufacturers.
Mhm.
You know, so a lot of
Right.
you know, a lot of the ski tows that are out there are similar to the type of operation we have. So
Okay.
that's certainly research that we can do. But I know the portable tow rope was just something that we felt was a product that we could move without it being a huge undertaking. But there certainly could be some other options out there pertaining to that.
Okay. Council, Mr. Knobtop?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions. I had a little bit different approach. At the last meeting, February 2 meeting, I got a lot of conflicting messages from the presentation and from council. And I walked away really not feeling good about our credibility. So what I ended up doing, and I'd like to at least share what I did in the last couple of weeks, because I've changed my mind completely around on some things I put in an email, communication to the council, the chain, and I'd like to just explain that. I went back and read all the minutes from the fall of 24 up and including the 12/16/24 meeting when we made the massive resolution to proceed with the bidding. I read all the articles and many articles in the Petoskey News that I could find, including a bunch of quotes from council members and staff about the cost to be $33.4 million, and that the gap would be funded from basically the fund balance in the electric fund. I sought input from my Ward 3, my great Ward 3 email list. I spent time at the water park itself all weekend. I had a great meeting with Ward 3. Yep. And I sought their input. And lastly, but really the most important, at the suggestion of one of the council members here, I actually went back and listened and watched the video from the 12/16 meeting. And I have to say, initially, when I read the minutes, it was very obvious to me that this council decided 4-1, in spite of Tina's comments in the minutes, in spite of all the pros and cons of everything that was discussed at that meeting, that you guys were going to go proceed with this if it came close to the 3.5 million. And the minutes seemed to kind of say that to me. And I was saying, why in the world would it be switching now when it all came in? However, after watching the video and watching your presentation and all the comments, the minutes did not reflect what really happened at that meeting at all. And I came to a completely different conclusion. From the outset, there was concern about why wouldn't the pavilion and the chillers be put into the master plan, the public comment plan at the outset. And the other thing that was interesting to me is that a lot of hesitation about the cost and questions. Lindsay there were wonderful questions, and I thought that was very interesting. It did not come through with that in the minutes and the resolution itself. There was a comment made for sure that the pavilion and chillers would be included in the public option or the public input provision. That actually didn't happen, but it was clear that it was going to be based on what you said at that meeting. And I don't like to go back I don't want to go back either. I want to go forward. But in reading this and then listening to this and watching it, I want to commend John for navigating through the discussion. There was a lot of really interesting discussions back and forth. I want to also commend the council members that were here, Tina and Lindsay, with the great questions on this. And somewhere along the way, we got kind of screwed up. And if I had a little bit of a criticism on the process, was the resolution that was passed, that I anchored on, did not really reflect what I sense strongly that everybody that were here voting was meant. It was not right. And so I feel like we really got to be careful on how we write, how we do our resolutions, and read it, not just, and I'm not saying we're rubber stamping anything, but it was not the sense of that I thought we really were trying to do. Having said all that, I do have a question on, so we do not have the pavilion in this current plan.
Correct.
And the reason you took that out is?
There was no support.
There was no support when
When
when it came to a vote of however, 2 meetings ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm personally, think the process got a little messed up. I kind of flipped my mind. I think the pavilion should be part of the process of the discussion. I do believe that should be part of it, because I've heard through all the information, including everybody I listened to and everybody I listened to at the meetings, that it probably should be at least considered, not guaranteed, but that's it for now. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Demore.
Sorry, I told you I had a lot of questions. So if I'm looking at number one, the component number one, and if I'm looking at page 31, there's a provision there for ADA access improvements, parking and walkways.
Wait, where's 31?
Page, have I got the wrong page?
Yeah, you got it right. It's page 7 of the capital budget of page 31.
Okay, thank you.
Under table 3.
So here's my question. You've got an amount in there for $275,000. Now, in the previous iteration, number one was that plan for parking lot expansion. And that had an assigned cost of $143,314. And we said no in our initial discussion. Lindsay was not with us, that we did not want that. But this kind of looks like the same thing as number one that we didn't want, except the price tag is higher. So I'm just trying to understand what that is.
So the accessibility around the rink and the parking lot and the sidewalks leading to the rink and leading to the lodge are they need to be up to current ADA standards. And they currently are not. So this represents, if the rink is replaced, we would also improve the accessibility to the rink, to the lodge from the parking lot.
So not to put you on the spot, I
Yeah.
mean that most sincerely, but I'm gonna need further understanding about how this is different from number one before, and if it's different, how come, the price is so much more?
Some of the differences is the glass replacement of the boards and glass.
No, this is just a single entry of 200.
ADA.
Yeah.
If you look at, I did on my research on benefits of a Parks and Rec master plan, one of the things that it listed as the key factors involved in prioritizing projects, it lists accessibility, ADA compliance, upgrading facilities to meet accessibility standards. It's listed in a lot of places. When I did probably 10 different searches with, I've got pages and pages of search stuff, but accessibility, ADA compliance is vitally important, comes underneath safety for individuals. And I don't have a problem with the ADA accessible piece of improvements for the winter sports park to make it available to all people. Obviously. Would you like to explain that to her maybe?
Well, I don't need, I'm fully aware of what ADA compliance is, and I'm.
No, but I'm
I
saying,
fully
do you want to
support-
know what parts of what that curtails, since it's over $250,000? Do you want to know what they're gonna do?
What I want to know is that in the previous iteration, the parking lot expansion was portrayed as ADA compliance at a cost of $148,314. Now that it's been incorporated in the existing hockey rink description, which notes parking and walkways along with ADA access improvements, the price is now $275,000. So I'm trying to understand number one, is this what we rejected before as number one, now incorporated here? And if yes, why has the price gone up? And if no, what's more detail on what this is for $275,000? And again, I'm not trying to put Kendall on the spot. If you don't know all those details, it's not a problem, but it's something I would want to understand.
Let me get that answer for you and follow up.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Other questions you have?
One of the overall questions I had was about the category along the way of design, engineering, and construction administration costs. Those are variously included throughout the detailed master plan capital budget estimates. And throughout, they total about $261,000. What are those?
Are you referring to the contingency?
No, I think the general conditions are the contingency, aren't they, Kendall, at 10%?
Well, you always allow for, there's typically a percentage when you do construction, because particularly if you're digging, you're likely going to find something that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
No,
Like if,
I see the design engineering.
Yeah.
So for certain projects where we would have to get bids and specs written, there would need to be, we would have to pay for that service to be done. Not all of these will require that. But for the major, the major improvements, we would need to get an engineer or an architect on board, and that is where those design and engineering and construction administration fees would be incorporated.
so again, not my area of expertise, but it's in excess of $250,000, those fees here. So I would, some follow-up on that, I'd be interested to understand better. I think I do understand why it's in certain places and not others. It's not by the fire pit because probably those are just pieces you come and lay in.
Sure.
Where some others of these require more.
Yeah, but any capital project that we do citywide, you know, is going to have a cost associated with those if we have to bring in other professionals to perform those services.
Okay.
And of course, those are will vary with the project and with the cost of each project.
What's the activity lawn? Is that like the same thing as that former event and display patio? Because there was that number 8 event and display.
Yeah, no, this was kind of off to, it was more of a summertime area. It's a flatter area, almost, you know, where the path comes down from Lake Street. It kind of dumps into that field down there. This plan just has an area where it's kind of a standalone flat space, wouldn't affect any wintertime activities. That would just be a component where people could come, they could play horseshoes or bocce ball or whatever.
So that actually was my question too, with the fire pits and the activity lawn. Now that we've interjected this measurement of a 250-meter oval, can those be accommodated with a 250-meter oval?
Well, the activity lawn wouldn't affect the size because that's only a summertime. That's only a summertime space. Pertaining to to the fire pits, really the vision that I have for that deck is just to expand it basically to where the existing ramp, there's a ramp that leads people onto the ice rink, is just kind of match that. If we expand that, we'll have a good activity space. We can if we choose to put fire pits out there, that would be a great spot. You have access to the restrooms, you have access to the building from that deck. So that wouldn't go any farther than, where the existing ramp is now. And where we put the snow, I mean, we have large snow blowers. I mean, that's just an operating task that we would find a spot to put that extra snow. But so the plan did have kind of an expanded deck and then in a more of an event space out there. I believe that we're able to accomplish what we want to accomplish with just expanding of our deck with a footprint that we really already have.
That's why I think designating that 350-meter oval.
250, we can't get 350 meters. It'll make it any bigger.
Expanded it, right?
Thank you for the backup. The 250-meter oval being specified in the plan will help that we don't have those kind of overlaps.
Well, and also consider, depending on how we're able to engineer the regrading and the redraining of that field, there might be some opportunity to even move farther back. I'm not saying that's what we're gonna do, but I think we need to look at this, get some engineers out there to take really a look to see what our footprint can be back there.
Mr. Wilbur.
Thank you, Mayor. So the reason that the pavilion's not in here is because it didn't get any support at a previous meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, just for the record, I'd like to clarify that I think it didn't get support because of the order of resolutions that were presented and the unique characteristic of the resolutions outside of the total winter sports park plan. I'm not sure that you'd get that same response if it was an integrated part of this plan. You might, but I don't think you would. My question to you is, the sentiment of the Parks and Rec Committee, do they believe that the pavilion would be an asset to this plan? And the second part of that question is, you have added the snowmaking where it wasn't included in the first version of the plan. Is that to say that the Parks and Rec Commission is now recommending no pavilion and they're recommending snowmaking equipment?
Well, I didn't add snowmaking equipment. The equipment, this plan was updated based on the feedback given from,
I understand that.
from
I'm asking a
council.
different question. What is Parks and Rec's recommendation?
You received it. They have not had it. You've received what they sent us.
So I'm going to suggest then that since we've received it and it's in our packet,
Yeah.
that Parks and Rec is recommending against a pavilion and for snowmaking equipment. Is that correct?
No, I don't think that was ever did that ever come up in discussion?
That's my point, Mr. Mayor. Is it a part of the plan or isn't it a part of the plan? Is it just because the order of resolutions required us not to support it at that time that it got disqualified? And should it be a part of the plan?
You had two things you were asking about the planning commission, Parks and Rec talking about it, and
That's correct, because what he's telling me is that it's been modified by Parks and Rec based on the feedback that they received from council.
it's been modified by us, by staff.
Okay,
It
by
does not
staff.
Go back to the Parks and Rec.
No.
They have not met.
Is that correct?
We met 2 weeks ago today.
And they met last week.
They
we didn't review this.
wasn't on their agenda.
That wasn't on our agenda. It wasn't a directive that was given to take it back to Parks and Rec to review. Now, Parks and Rec historically, through resolutions of their own, did support the pavilion project, but because it was not included with this, those are two separate discussions. So, so that's, that's where, I think that's where a little bit of confusion lies.
This does not have a emergency need to be passed today or tomorrow, does it? Is there? what
No,
is that?
absolutely not.
Okay. I would like, personally, I would like the Parks and Rec, send it, not the whole thing. I would like to send back to Parks and Rec, discussion on the pavilion and the chiller. Those are two things that we seem to not, we have had different opinions on. As I stated before, expensive, high vision projects that are to be included can be categorized separately from immediate priorities. So it would be on a separate list, more or less, of what is community wants. And I guess I'd like to know if the community really wants, does the community really wants a pavilion? Do they really want a chiller? Right now, I don't think that anybody has that true answer because it was not in a survey. But given whatever, send it back to Parks and Rec and have them make recommendations on those two things and send it back to us. Mr. Knobtrop.
Mayor, I think you nailed it, because to go along with what Charlie said, if it was taken off, if the pavilion or the cover was taken off because of the last meeting, I can understand that. But also, after I got more information, I'm a little confused on it. And I got a sense that the cover was probably more wanted than you think.
But we don't know.
We don't know. And so I love the notion of trying to push this back to Parks and Rec to do a little bit more of an analysis to understand what does the public want. Because right now, I think the cover is important. I'm not so sure the snowmaking is that important, but that's just me. But we don't know.
Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Kendall, for sharing some additional perspective. So this was exactly the reason why I had perceived that we were going to have a roundtable discussion like we've previously had here with Parks and Recreation and the Downtown Management Board, a circular structure in the middle of this room where discussion happens and we horse trade and negotiate what that's going to look like. And I was told that that's not what the context of the Thursday meeting of last week was going to be, hence it was canceled. And so the way that we govern here, and I've been very patient and learning over my 4 terms of serving on city council. It's been a total privilege. It's a learning experience. But the way that communication happens between the planning and the planning department or the planning commission and Parks and Recreation and the Downtown Management Board, and the way that information flows here and then goes back for further revision if necessary and comes back this way, that's part of like a diplomatic public discourse. Those are appointed people. We are elected people. They are visionaries. We are visionaries. We are fiduciarily responsible for the annual budget. They are not. But that's okay. That's part of like what discourse looks, and the public is invited to engage and participate. So here we are again, and now we're kicking the can further down the road. And I would like to make some decisions tonight. I would like to proceed forward with what's been outlined here and move forward with our agenda accordingly. I feel really remiss that we canceled our meeting on Thursday night. I was prepared. I know that others were prepared. I know what a master plan is. I know how you budget from year to year to year to year based on your priorities and based on public input. I'm really clear about that, and I don't, we're gonna send it back to Parks and Recreation. That's fine. They just had a meeting this past Monday. And we decided and we voted back on January the 26th, which was our last meeting, where budgetarily we were told at the 11th hour in a public meeting that it wasn't $800,000 that would come out of our budget. It was actually 1.4 million. Oh, and it wasn't so much for the ice improvements. It was another $1.5 million, totaling 2.7 of a 4.7 million unrestricted fund. We've also gone back and forth. Parks and Recreation has had the risk management firm present to them on a millage. Here we're sitting here and you've taken our temperature. Oh no, we're not gonna present that to City Council because they're gonna vote no. So it's just like been this back and forth thing that just feels nebulous, and it causes confusion, and it's not transparent, and it makes people feel really bad.
Mr. Moore.
So relative to the pavilion project, this is for my colleagues. I submit you can't have it both ways. When Mr. Icoangeli was here last time, he said it was out of the master plan process of gathering community input because it was on a separate track. But now, some folks are suggesting it should be in the master plan as a component part with a funding line item. I don't think you can have it both ways. If it's to be in the master plan, it needed to be included for community input with all the other options offered so that relative community preferences could be determined. That's my view of it.
How is sending it back to the plant, to the Parks and Rec? How is that not gaining the opportunity for them to get public input from whatever they need? If they need to do a survey, if they need to do some contacting, that's where it should start. I'm not saying that the rest of this stuff should be sent back. I'm saying the stuff that we wanted to get information on, such as the pavilion, the chiller. I want them to go back and do homework on this and to come up with what does the public want? And it's not our job. It starts at the Parks and Rec. I think they need to do, and it might take a little while for this to happen, but I'm suggesting it goes back to them. Kendall and Shane can work on getting some kind of a public assessment on these two pieces. And it isn't gonna affect whether we don't have to have this passed today or tomorrow or next year or next week, or excuse me, whatever. But right now, let's send it back and let's get some information to see. I personally I think it should go as a expensive, high vision project that I have heard a lot of the people in the community stating they want a pavilion. Some of them say, I don't know about the chiller. But what I want to do is get a temperature of the people that are our constituents out there. I want to get some kind of information like we had on the last poll. Mr. Wilmot.
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, but I would also add, since it wasn't in the original master plan, they've added the snowmaking equipment here. You ought to add that to your list
Please.
too, because we would like the Parks and Rec's recommendations based on the public input that they have received. If that includes an additional survey for these additional items, that's great. The more input that we have, the merrier, because right now it's kind of a jumbled up situation that can be easily straightened out. And with regard to Councilperson Walker's request for a joint meeting, I think the joint meetings between Parks and Rec and Council and Planning Commission and Council as an annual event before the CIP is a really important step. But perhaps now we can send this back as the mayor has requested for their input now, and perhaps we can schedule those joint meetings in the lead up to the CIP later this year.
Which is where it goes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
So I'm not at all clear what kind of survey you're talking about.
I don't really,
Could I finish, please?
Sure.
Thank you very much. We retained Beckett and Rader to conduct a survey, a data collection, where you had various different options that people could assess together. Are we going to repay Beckett and Rader to redo the survey by putting these items in? I mean, with due respect to the Parks and Rec Commission, I don't think they're in the business of doing surveys. That's why we paid somebody to do it. So if we're going to gather data, we need to do it in a way that's reliable. I have no objection. I love data. But I don't understand.
sending it back to them, I never put a restriction, a boundary on there of saying you have to do Beckett and Rader. I didn't say that you have to do a survey versus a poll. I didn't say anything like that. I said, send it back to them and have them make the decision along with Kendall and Shane on how they want to get us public information on those two things. Ultimately, if we ever go to a millage, if those are ever included, I want to know some information now, putting it into the Park and Rec master plan in the winter sports park, which is the baby part of this step. I want to get public information on those three things.
So can I interject?
Please.
As I mentioned before, next year we're going to go through a large public engagement exercise for our 5-year master plan. Perhaps that's the time to re-engage the public with some of these items. Again, most of these items right now are represented in our current 5-year master plan. So ultimately, of all the master plans that we do prior to renewing our 5-year, we will include in the next 5-year plan. Okay, so if we're not in any big hurry at this point, I would like to throw out there that is an option that will, obviously it'll take place next year along with all of our parks. We fill the room, the community room with different charrettes of our park. People provide input, their surveys. It's a months and months long engagement process. So I would recommend that we do have, that could be something that we could consider since it's already on the horizon.
Mr. Wilmot.
I think that for a number of these items that we've been talking about, and to be specific, snowmaking equipment, groomer, and the chiller system. That's a perfectly reasonable suggestion. However, I'm feeling pressure on the question of pavilion based on the fundraising efforts that have already taken place that look shaky now based on our position with regard to so I'm a little uncomfortable postponing the question of the pavilion for the 2028 master plan. So that would be my concern.
Mr. Knobtrout.
I tend to agree, you know, and again, I'm trying to be as objective as possible on this. It was clear that we wanted public input on the pavilion. And it's clear we did, and we didn't quite get it. I think it's reasonable what the mayor is trying to say and what Charlie's trying to say is getting, and I do also feel the pressure too on getting it done, but.
Yeah, I think you can, the funding, the grant funding is gone. We're not gonna have that. So you have to start in that mode of the funds that were raised locally, the contributions by Rotary. You got to put that behind you because we're not gonna have that going forward. You have to understand that if you still want to do this, we're starting back at ground zero, square one. And so if that changes your perspective, but that's reality.
Ms. Walker.
Thanks. So the pavilion was not part of the Parks and Rec master plan from 2021 to 2026. It was added later on. And now what you're saying, Shane, is that's the DNR grant is no longer available allotted to, because it was very specific to that project. And then the Rotary has since chosen another contribution to another project in the community.
Yeah, they're working to find another project to put their money into.
Thank you.
Ms. Demore.
I have a couple other questions from
for
constituents
it.
that were shifting gears back. So it was interesting because I did look back, as far as survey responses, for my part, I just looked at City of Petoskey taxpayers. And for the playground, it was like 57% of people supported that. But I've gotten a lot of constituent input on two kind of lanes. One, that it's not needed because there are so many other playgrounds in the city. And two, this issue that was raised earlier tonight by Ms. Gephardt that, you know, this is something that while day camp is ongoing, which I fully support, it can't be accessed anyway. So I got quite a bit of pushback against the idea of the playground. So I just want to put that out there for others.
If you want to put that out there, I believe the city's got to, whatever the cost, we go to the schools and we utilize the school playground, even if we have to agree with them that 1 week it's this playground, 1 week it's that. I believe the Winter Sports Park should be open to the public year round.
Yeah, let's not get bogged down with that. We'll move our day camp somewhere else.
Okay, that's all.
Let's just
So there you
let's
go.
move that narrative.
All right, so that answers Ms. Demore's quoting on somebody that had a concern with that. I take it that the field that you're talking about, the playground, the park, the field, whatever it's called, where is it? I take it that's right on, it's not a new, I'm sure I know what I'm talking on this. It's not a new field. It's simply gonna go on the ice rink area, correct?
We need to improve that space back there.
Drainage.
And it's gonna go right on, it's gonna go there. They're not gonna be taking trees down and taking everything down and building a sports field on the side.
No,
Just for I know that, but I wanted to clarify, because I heard some concerns about a sports field. And it's gonna be right on the ice skating rink during the summertime.
correct.
Mr. Moore.
Under 18 neighborhood access trails, I just had somebody reach out to say that they supported this fully, but they didn't think that that funding would be sufficient because of the large dead trees along the brush and that sort of thing. So I don't know, just to put that on your radar.
Large big trees where?
This is under 18 neighborhood access trails. It said there are multiple large dead trees along the brush. Once tree removal begins, they'll have a hard time stopping. Poor condition of the woods. It's not a complaint or anything. I'm just putting it on your radar that there were concerns that that funding there may not be sufficient to do what you were proposing to do relative to neighborhood access trails, number 18.
Okay.
Okay,
So did I hear that you wanted this to go back
well,
to Parks and
for
Recreation?
parts of it, for pieces of it, yes, answering pieces of
To
that.
see if there is community interest in a pavilion project, a pavilion,
Chiller,
a chiller, and snowmaking equipment.
Which includes the groomer.
which is.
Oh, yeah.
downhill, right? I mean, if you're gonna do that. Ms. Demore,
I don't support this process unless there is a professional method of data collection. Again, I love data.
again. Again,
Mr. Mayor, do you need a
I have to
motion?
trust that our city Parks and Rec director and people on the Parks and Rec are gonna come up with a plan to let us, and will give us feedback on how they're going to assess this, okay? This is not gonna be a half-assed deal. I feel that they're gonna use a professional approach to it, and we'll get some data so we can get a temperature on the pavilion and on the icy. Would you make a motion, please?
Yes, I move that, that Parks and Rec be asked to consider the pavilion project as a part of the master plan, as well as the snowmaking groomer aspect, the high ticket items, and collect data as they see fit. And give us their recommendation and sequence of recommendations in terms of the overall master plan.
And you want the chiller as part of that as well?
Color as part of that
Okay.
too, yes.
Do I have a second? I support that. So, do you want, Sarah, do you wanna read back that, what you got, or do you want us to?
I can, if you want me to. I
Better
got it though, but do you want me to
Read it
read it?
back, just so
Thank you, sir.
we're good.
So there's a motion by Councilmember Wilmot to have the Parks Commission consider the pavilion project as part of the overall master plan, as well as snowmaking, chiller, groomer, which these are all high-ticket items, and collect data as the commission sees fit and provide council recommendation, their recommendations and sequence of recommendations.
Is there
Like
any-
project sequences, that's what you're talking about?
Is there anything,
Priority sequence,
is there anything not included in that?
not that I can think of.
Do I have other discussion by council? Please.
I'll just say that given the amorphous nature of that resolution, I won't support it.
Thank you. Does the public wish to weigh in on this? There's an opportunity for you to step up from what we are proposing. Sir,
Can I just make one comment?
Please.
I think it's gonna be important, if we're gonna go through this process, and if this is going to be dead on arrival here, let's save our time and not go through that process. So if that's the desire, it'd be good to know that now.
I don't know why it's dead on arrival. I'll ask council. I know, Mr.
We know what,
you-
we know what
are
the,
you
we know what the
interested-
cost is.
Are you interested in putting it on a master plan, or are you interested in finding out the public interest in this? Ms. Walker,
Would I support the motion as it's been put on the table? Is that what you're asking? Yes, I support getting the public's input on a pavilion and an ice chiller and snowmaking equipment, which is also included in here. Yes.
okay. And I have a motion, I have a second. Are you
I didn't
still?
hear a second.
We had a second from Mr. Knobtrop.
He seconded.
just to comment on Shane's, and I recognize what Shane's trying to get to, and this is, I think the way I'm understanding the master plan is a master plan. It doesn't say that we're spending the money, it doesn't put the priority. I have a strong sense that we need that information from the public in any way we can. Yeah, so yeah, I would want to do that. And I don't think it's dead on arrival. It might not happen because we don't have the money. That might happen.
Okay. So there, it's not dead. I totally support both of those if we can find the funds to do it, you know, great. But I also wouldn't want it without the public input as well. I want to know what they feel. If they say this is a crazy idea, we don't want it, then we'll get reports from them on that, but I support it. Other people that wish to speak to council, please come forward, full name. Hit the green thing that's on.
Thank you, Ted Paul, 603 East Lake Street. I appreciate this discussion. I've used a frequent user of and supporter of the Winter Sports Park project previously, skater, recreational hockey, but not league, and have been down there a lot in the past. A couple of comments I have. I understand there's some unhappiness with a process where we didn't get that in the survey, the pavilion and the chillers. But I think you have to do the best you can. Certainly we put out master plans and CIPs all the time, and we don't get the opportunity to survey the public on those every year when we do those cycles. So maybe it's not perfect, but you have to do the best you can. I just have a question for your consideration as you move forward. My understanding of the ice situation down there and watching what has gone on previously is that the issue was on the hockey, especially with scheduled events and league games and things, no ice is a problem. You can't play. Recreational skating, I can't go down there and skate, wait a couple weeks. So it's kind of a thing that way, and I get that. I just wonder if when that pavilion started, the idea was to extend the ice, which was a good idea. You know, originally wasn't going to cost money, but my question is for Ken Klingel-Smith, Parks and Recs, and you is, the question I believe is extending the ice. I skated downstate on uncovered ice that was chilled, and it was an extensive season, and it was always ice there. I hope your question will focus on what's the best way, the most cost-effective way to extend the ice. You're going to potentially spend in this plan $873,000 on the rink improvements. $139,000 of that is the concrete pad, which could have a chiller system in them. I just wonder, and it'd be interesting to talk to hockey people, curling people, anyone who would use that ice. Would a chiller system, if we had to make cost decisions, would that extend the ice in a good way with a top being potentially added later? So I haven't heard that answer, and I wonder about that. Which is more effective to extend the ice? I'm wondering if the pavilion idea was to extend the ice, and then when people thought about it, it's like, if it's 50 degrees, there's not gonna be any ice, even if there's a roof on it. We need a chiller. So the question is, do we need a chiller to extend the ice and maybe a roof later? So that was my question. I don't know the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to council? Sir, ma'am.
Ligita Lappins, City of Petoskey. I printed off the master survey and I didn't see anything in regard to a pavilion or a chiller. So somehow that got put in when they made up this. You know, I don't think the chiller or a pavilion cover, that would be an extra 1 million. So you're doing $2 million along with everything else. Our population is an older population, and I think in millage, if you're going to be asking for millage, and I personally would not pay for a millage because of being a senior on a fixed income, and most of the people around here are retirees. So I am listening to you, and I am so totally confused about what's going on, trying to figure out what you're going to do. And when you are supposedly putting this plan into action, and again, you seem to be kicking this down the proverbial alley, and the prices are going to be going up. So I hope this this comes to a conclusion. Thank you.
Anyone else wants to speak to council?
Mr. Mayor, City Council,
Your name?
Robert Waugh, Petoskey. I grew up here and I literally grew up at the Winter Sports Park. My kids grew up at the Winter Sports Park. And I went on to be the president of the Hockey Association. We had talked to George Courtower about building a rink there, and we talked to the county about building a rink out to the fairgrounds. And we ended up building it out to M119. We played, I had 3 kids in hockey, so we utilized the rink a lot. And for us, being an association, we had to pay for everything. So we had to fund everything. And I saw things along the way that I thought were useful. There's 2 rinks in the Sioux that they don't have refrigeration. They just open the windows up and that's it. They have ice all the time in the winter. My thinking is, when we talked to George, his concern was complaints about the noise. Chillers put out a lot of noise and they require a lot of upkeep. And you turn them on and you can't turn them off. They have to run. We put our rink up by hand. We had volunteers. We had 155 families playing hockey with all their kids. We had speed skaters, figure skaters, men's hockey. We would have the rink sold out about 75, 80 hours a week. So it was under constant use. Here, because you have to be part of MAHA to skate, you can't just have games. You have to be part of an association for liability insurance. So the thinking is to try one thing and see how it works. The lowest cost thing to do would be to cover the rink, so to keep the snow off it and the sun off of it. We used to have to run down there at night, and we bought a bunch of insulation that had foil on it, and we had to put it along the boards. So when the game started, the refs could check the boards and make sure the ice was adequate for them to allow us to play. So chillers are expensive, maintenance is expensive. How many people play? Don't know. It doesn't seem like if they've got organized sports out to the rink now with Federer, that there would be a big pull to put skating hockey games down there. You would need qualified refs. There's a lot to it. So if you put up a roof and covered it, just the roof, and see how that works. And if there's a lot of use and there's a lot of interest, then take it to the next step. It's a sizable investment to see that it's not as popular. I went down Thursday, saw a lot of people using the sledding hill, walking up, no one using the ski hill, and that's where I learned how to ski. Dean Shorter came in with his teaching pros, and they would have classes from the city parks and rec, and they were sold out all the time. That's how they did it. I see that they're doing it out to Nubs now, but if you put some kind of a machine, and I don't know what will work the best, you can't put a pommel lift in because they don't allow it for snowboarders, but you could put a T-bar in, you could put a ski rope in, and that would get skiers to the top of the hill, and I think the ski hill would be used. Right now, the kids are too small, a lot of them, to take a tow rope up to the top of the hill. I'm talking like my grandson is 4, and I have another one who's 7 or 8. The idea is that a lot of families, and I stood at the bottom of the hill watching my kids go sliding, they would have a hard time going up on a rope tow. But a lot of them love sliding, and it's not a long hill. I went down Thursday, and there was a lot of people using it. So the biggest cost you're going to have is the chiller system, and we pre-sold all the ice before we built it. We knew what we were getting into. Here, you're going to build it, then find out if there's a following or an interest. It's a lot of risk. So I would start with a roof and see where that goes. I want to put sides on it, but I would extend it. And in the summertime, people that play pickleball, all they do is complain when they play outside. And if it was a covered area, you could easily put 3 to 5 pickleball courts inside the hockey rink and have it covered. So they wouldn't get sunburned when they're playing pickleball. So I think there's multiple uses. And if I own something, and you guys are so fortunate to be stewardship over a place like this in Petoskey, I'd find as many uses as I could in the summer and in the winter. And snowmaking equipment, we have times where you think about school getting out for Christmas, and all the kids their parents are looking for something for them to do. If you could generate snow early, like the ski resorts do, then when winter break comes, they can take advantage of it. And as far as the survey done, Resort Township would love to see it. Bear Creek would love to see it. I wonder what the level of interest is if they want to kick in some mills towards this process, because their families are going to be using it as much as the city of Petoskey. So why bear the cost alone? That's it. Thank you all for doing what you're doing. I know it's a lot of work, and it's very much appreciated in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Anyone else wish to speak to council at this time? Mr. Munson.
Keith Munson, 1034 Wakazoo. 2 weeks ago, when we were talking about the same thing, I was advocating for keeping our full-size rink, which is available for state speed skating competitions. And I would just like to add some more information for you to consider. I have a letter from Mark Yastrzemski. He is the club president of the West Michigan Speed Skating Club. He says, "I'm pleased to speak on behalf of the 30-plus members of our ice speed skating club. Over the last 3 decades, our speed skating club members look forward to visits to the Winter Sports Park for major competitions. Many of us stay overnight, go skiing at Boyne, slide down the hill right next to the rink, make a day of shopping in your city. Petoskey is a very special place. We others also know that one little gem that helps make it that way is your truly breathtaking Winter Sports Park." This one is from Devlin Foley. He is the president of the Michigan Speed Skating Association. And also he is the president of the Wolverine Speed Skating Club, which is in the Detroit area. The Petoskey Speed Skating Club is the only Michigan Speed Skating Association member club that has the opportunity to host long track speed skating meets. Skaters from all over Michigan love to make the trek north to Petoskey to skate on the longer ice, and even in some of the most frigid weather, just for the thrill of the sport, not to mention that it offers a whole new feeling of speed skating that you typically won't find at any other rink. Continuing. I skated at the Winter Sports Park for the very first time in 2015. The meet was so much fun that I made every effort to make it back the following year. I encourage skaters from the Detroit Area Speed Skating Club to travel to Petoskey. Because of my efforts, Petoskey's had more skaters in town for the meet, not to mention the boost in Petoskey's local economy. Okay. So there are people interested in that. He mentioned 2019. I think that was our last time we hosted the Michigan Outdoor Speed Skating Championship. So I'm glad to hear that this is possible, but I also hear it's contingent on whether we can do all this drainage work and to make that possible. Well, okay, so I'm wondering why, since in the 30s, have we been able to do this without spending all that money on this drainage work? So I don't think it should be contingent on that. I think it should just be maintaining the full size of the rink. And you know I'm not going to get up here and without mentioning the rope tow. So I heard from Mr. Klingelsmith tonight that he went up and tried to start it. Well, it's been sitting there for a number of years. No wonder it wouldn't start. And then, oh, they stumbled upon this portable one. Well, if it's good enough for Boyne, it's good enough for us. Well, guess what? Nub's Knob has a rope tow. So why can't, if it's good enough for Nub's Knob, why can't we have one where the current one is? Thank you.
How many members do you have that are actually, Mr. Munson?
Yes.
How many members do you have that are actually speed skating in tournaments now of Petoskey Skating Club?
I'm not an official member anymore.
Do you know how many members they have?
I would say, 6 to 8,
Okay,
but we were the hosts for that meet.
that was
When we-
7 years, but that was 7 years ago.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to council? Is anybody online, Ms. Beck?
No.
Being none. Okay, I go to. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. We're on. All right. My name's Cody Wilcox. I live at 1200 Willis Avenue with my wife and 2 young kids. I'm here this evening to speak in support of the Winter Sports Park and the adoption of the Winter Sports Park Master Plan, including the proposed all-season pavilion and hockey rink. I understand that this master plan is a framework, not a final design, but I strongly urge the council to move forward and take action. As a lifelong resident of Petoskey, aside from my years at college, I have personally experienced what makes this park such a special place for so many in our community. As a child, I spent countless hours sledding, bump jumping, skating on the big rink, and playing youth hockey on the lower rink. Like many here tonight, I believe the Winter Sports Park is truly one of a kind. My memories there extend beyond winter. I played basketball in the parking lot, roller hockey in the lower rink, and soccer during the warmer months. Whether it was practice, games, running hills, walking down with friends just to kick the ball around, or watching former Petoskey Stars compete in the men's division of the Petoskey Soccer Tournament, some of my most lasting friendships and memories were formed at this park. And while my experiences may center on soccer and skating, they are far from unique. Many in this community and in this room carry their own stories. The zoo, Deer Park, the alligators, Fox Chase, the Toboggan Run, Winter Carnival, and even Bozo the skating mule all helped shape generations of memories. While those attractions have changed with time, the spirit of the park has remained constant. Its rich history of skiing, figure skating, bump jumping, speed skating, and community gatherings continue to make this place special. I'm not here to ask that we bring back the past. I'm here to ask that we invest in the future. Improvements that allow future generations to create their own meaningful memories. Specifically, I urge the council to revisit the revised 2025 needs assessment, re-examine funding opportunities through the Dollar Gap loan, fund balance, and the potential millage that the council authorized a consulting agency to explore in December of 2024. Swan Lake City Park, Petoskey City Park, the Petoskey City Zoo, Deer Park, or as we know it today, the Winter Sports Park. No matter the name or activity, this has been a special place for over 125 years. I respectfully ask you to help ensure it remains so for the next 125 years. Thank you for your time, your service to our community, and your thoughtful consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to council?
Hi, I'm Peg Wilcox, Cody's mom. And I I took him to the Winter Sports Park, my daughter to the Winter Sports Park, our grandchildren to the Winter Sports Park. And I was on the hockey or the roller skates playing hockey in the summertime as well. I would encourage you to do the chiller and/or the pavilion because it would extend the time period that you could use the winter sports park, as well as the snow blower, not blower, snowmaker. It just would extend the park for longer hours because it seems like over the last few years, this has been a banner year for winter sports, but over the past few years, the weather doesn't always allow for us to have the winters like we did when my kids were little. Thank you for all of your time. I know how difficult it is to try and ferret out how you're going to spend money or whether you will or not, but thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak to council? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Could I ask that the resolution be read again, the motion?
Sure.
Thank you.
Motion by Councilmember Wilmot to have the Parks and Rec Commission consider the pavilion project as part of the Winter Sports Park Master Plan, as well as snowmaking, chiller, groomer, since these are all high-ticket items, and collect data as they see fit and give council recommendations and priority sequences.
Thank you.
I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Wilmot,
Yes.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Demore,
No.
Murphy.
Aye. Motion passes 4-1. I want to thank the people that are on the Parks and Rec Commission. Anybody that serves any time on our commissions, thank you for what you guys do. Takes time out of your life. It's hard to find people to volunteer to give their time for the city. If you have interest in serving on a board, I point with most of the approvals, over 63 people are on boards and commissions. If you wish to participate and be a part of that, please get a hold of me. I would love to meet with you, talk to you about what openings are or what the future is, and also what your skills and talents can lead to a good match. Next, we move on to advertising regulating handbills. I turn it over to City Manager Horn.
I'm going to pass it on to our city clerk for this is our second reading of this ordinance. Sarah kind of went through why it's in front of you for some minor modifications. So, Sarah, if you have anything additional to add or.
I don't unless you guys have questions, but it's pretty straightforward.
I would be happy to make the motion to approve it.
Support.
I have a motion from Mr. Knobtrop, second from Mr. Wilmot. Any other discussion? Does the public wish to speak on this? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Murphy.
Motion passes 5-0 on the advertising regulating handbills. Now is a discussion on city council meeting preparation and procedures policy. I'm going to turn it over to City Manager Horn.
Yeah, so I've received comments from, believe 3 of you. We have the city attorney's comments intertwined into this kind of red line document. Document goes back quite a ways. It's been updated many times throughout the course of time. Obviously, with a new city council, I think it's a good time to review these council meeting preparation procedures. Some of the language is obviously needs to be updated, times need to be updated. We'll dive in as deep as you would like to dive in, and we can go at this slow. There's no time constraints as far as getting this complete from start to finish. If you want to just kind of bite this off into sections, that's perfectly fine as well, and we'll continue to have this on an agenda, but the city attorney is on the call. So if you have any legal questions, obviously this is mostly policy. So it's mostly in your lane, if you will. We certainly want to make sure that we're not putting the city in any sort of legal harm, and we want to make sure we're consistent with the city charter. So that's the purpose of the city attorney, but most of this is business decisions of city council. So we can start. Mayor, I'll just turn it back to you, and you can kind of flow through this document and keep track of how we proceed.
We'll start at the beginning and go through this. I look at doing this for not a long time. We have a closed session that we are going to be going into closed session with the city attorney after this. So what's that? Oh, yes. Yep. We'll hit the new business on that as well. But because of that, I don't want to spend but a half hour on this really, okay? Some of you may not want a half hour. Too long. Half hour too long, so.
We get 2 pages, that's 2 pages we didn't have.
Let's try 2 pages. How's that? Are you ready? Looking at, you've got the first page. Is there anything that anybody has concerns on the purpose and the scheduling of meetings?
Is there a way that we can just say based on the comments, my reference is on the ones that are red, mine?
Yep.
Yep.
Blue is Wilmot's, black is Demores, and the city attorneys are green. Looking at page 72.
Right, and I would recommend that we start with number 1.
Yeah, does Mr. Naftar
Yes.
this copy? Because that's easier.
Yeah, so I got multiple copies of these things.
Where the lines are.
This one is that.
Look in your packet.
Small and hard to read.
Well, I'm okay to.
So as an example, number 1 is to adjust the time to 6 o'clock on page number 1.
No brainer. Check.
Yeah.
Yep.
You all good with that?
Going down to 2,
Number
under
2,
holiday cancellations.
Can I just chime in?
please.
My own 2 cents here, because I was not including my comments. But under the organizational meeting, it says traditionally in January, it's recognized as the organizational meeting at which the mayor-elect and city council members-elect receive their oaths of offices following their elections in November. So yes, as in many years past, that is how it's been, but it was brought to our attention by our city attorney per the charter. Terms begin January 1. So as you guys may recall, we did oaths in the last meeting in December, I believe. So that was just a point of clarification. If you guys so choose that you want to reword that, I just wanted to note that.
I think it'd be best to put it at the end, if we can denote that it would happen at the end of at the last meeting in December, rather than the start of the meeting. Because I feel that undermines the person that may be being replaced or retiring or et cetera. So I think it would look better if it was at the end of the December, last meeting in December. See that?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's perfectly acceptable from my standpoint, but also the swearing in doesn't have to happen at a council meeting. It could happen at any time in December. They can be sworn in, but it's effective January 1st. So it really doesn't undermine the existing person, except in presentation. And that can be done again after swearing in as a formal thing in the first council session, the first of the year, to repeat that swearing in for the benefit of the public.
Yep.
But frankly, I could have visited Sarah's office and she could have sworn me in on December 2nd or whatever.
Right.
Effective January 1st.
I think there's something to be said to do it at a council meeting for the benefit of the public.
I do too.
But that could be done the first meeting of council in January after a private swearing in earlier.
I don't see the
Why would you have
necessity
to
of
do
that.
that? Would you have a second swearing in?
On that way, if there was an emergency where we needed to get together on January 2nd, but our meeting wasn't until January 6th, you're already sworn in, you're ready to go. I've seen that in other locations I've worked in where they come into the office, we swear them in the office, and then we do a ceremonial swearing in at a meeting, bring the family in at a regular meeting, but you've already kind of gone through the process, you're official. But you can do it a lot of different ways.
I would only say, having survived service on city council, I don't think I'd be offended that somebody else was being sworn in during the meeting moving forward. So I'd say keep it simple, or anything Laura would advise to comply with it being legal.
Your comments, Laura?
Hold on, I didn't realize she was up here.
Her hands up, yeah.
There we go. All right. I was trying to unmute myself. No, I think it's kind of a matter of how much detail you want to go into on this in terms of the swearing in. You could put in here that it's some acknowledgement that they will be sworn in before January 1st. I think you can still have an organizational meeting, especially if you're going to select a pro tem mayor. But otherwise, I agree with everything that's been said. They don't have to be sworn in at a meeting, but oftentimes that's desirable both for the public and for the family who want to come.
We just defer to Laura to draft it.
Okay with me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is that it? You want to defer to her? Okay. Turn the
No,
page.
number 2 is at the bottom of the page, sir.
Oh, number 2. Oh, my gosh. Number 2 is,
I'm okay with the deletion that Tina put in.
That can be deleted. It's not needed. Unless Laura wants to pipe in and say anything different.
I couldn't hear which part you said. I thought.
This is Demore's note number 2 at the bottom of
Okay.
page 1.
It's
All right,
holiday cancellations,
I'm scrolling down to note 2.
and it's followed by meeting cancellations. The next paragraph.
well, I don't like the word occasionally. I don't know how, occasionally the first meeting of July is.
We're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you could combine them and just put holiday in the meeting cancellation section.
Delete the whole piece because the next paragraph talks about meeting cancellations.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then maybe list holidays in that second
Yeah.
section.
City council can adopt their schedule each year at the start of the year, or, yeah. Looking at meeting cancellations, there's a 3 there.
Yes.
This is the one where I would take out, it says city council generally should follow the polling of members. I think generally should come out. And I'd suggest adding in what Mr. Wilmot has suggested there at the end. Is that where it was? Yes.
Requiring an agreement of the majority of council members, is that correct? Is that what you're agreeing to?
Yeah, you say, however, such a call for the cancellation of rescheduling of a regular meeting requires agreement of the majority of council members. You suggested that be added at the end, and I agree with that. And taking out generally.
I have a question on that. How do you, is it okay to, the mayor would just poll people? I mean, how would you cancel it if you're not in a meeting? Was it just,
I polled on the last meeting, the work session that we had. I polled each of you. So one person didn't call me back. I did poll, so just to let you know, Lindsay, I did poll and everybody was in agreement to postpone or to cancel the work meeting.
I generally like the idea of a little bit of vagueness and general, so there's a little bit of flexibility for unusual things. And I'm personally okay with the mayor, at the mayor's discretion to poll or whatever. I don't know that it should be required. I like the vagueness, but that was my only thing.
And for my part, I don't like that because then it makes it unclear what the process should be. and the process should be a polling of members. So I don't know why generally would be in there.
I think that maybe this is just difference of opinion, is these are just policies, not absolutes. And whenever there's things with absolutes, there's always weird things come up. So the policy is, generally it is. And if it isn't, the mayor should be able to use his discretion or her discretion to cancel a meeting. And if you want to add that he will poll 3 people, that's fine with me too, frankly. I'm just wondering, how do you manage that unless it's just, you just say it is recommended or the mayor shall get an approval of 3? Because if that's what you want, I mean, that's fine too.
Your feedback, Laura?
Yeah, polling is okay. I don't always love it, but when we're just talking about administratively canceling a meeting, it shouldn't be problematic. Otherwise, how you want to do it is up to you. I also tend to like some generality because I have seen situations elsewhere where there's another issue and somebody will throw violation of policy in as some kind of claim against the city. So if there's a little bit of wiggle room, I'm not opposed to that.
So if I'm hearing what you're saying, Laura, that you've seen occasions where not having a little bit of general verbiage or vague verbiage can come back at us negatively.
Yeah, I've got a case now for another client where one of the arguments is that it wasn't a council meeting policy, it was a different kind of policy. It wasn't an ordinance, wasn't a resolution, just a policy. And the plaintiff has made an independent claim that the municipality did not follow their policy. So I'm not saying that claim has merit. I don't think it does. But nonetheless, if we can avoid painting ourselves into any corners in a policy, that would be preferable.
So for my part, though, I think that a meeting shouldn't be canceled without the consensus of a majority of city council members. I don't know how others feel, but to me, that seems to be important. And I don't think that says that here. So maybe that's the place to start. Does everybody think that for a meeting to be canceled, that the majority of city council should be in agreement with that? If yes, I think the language isn't clear. If no, then it's different.
Well, the language is stated, sorry, may I? The language is stated does say shall follow the polling of members of city council. And in order to keep it a little bit looser for the purpose of unforeseen circumstances, I'm going to change my opinion and say I'm comfortable with the way it's currently stated.
So here, the way it's stated, all members have to agree. So in other words, respectfully, the practice followed this week wouldn't meet this criteria.
Do you mean as drafted without the footnote 3? I'm sorry.
Yes, I would support that, yes.
Yeah, so as drafted without reference to footnote 3, it says generally, so I think that is wiggle room. If there's an emergency, there's a, God forbid, natural disaster or some other thing going on in the city, and you do not have time to, or cannot reach everybody, do you want to leave some wiggle room where the mayor can simply cancel the meeting?
Yes, but what I think Councilman DeMore was objecting to is it currently says the polling to determine if all members concur. And
Oh, I
she's
see.
saying at least it should be a majority. not
I
all
see.
members.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily objecting. I'm kind of putting on everybody's radar to say,
I agree. I just caught what you meant by that.
okay.
Yeah, instead of all, because then if one person didn't want to, you got the blackball. Right. So
Well, and it's
having a majority makes sense.
it's pretty burdensome for the mayor too. I mean, can't always get a hold of all of us, and otherwise, if there's 3 of us saying yes, it would happen, so.
I know where you live.
Okay, let's move on. It sounds like we have consensus on that,
So
majority.
we're changing to majority?
Majority. Okay. Make up meetings.
I'm okay with Tina's edit on that one.
Scratching that whole paragraph out, correct?
No, just it looked like at least the people with written responses agreed to the yellow line out. But then since Laura gave us a note, I was wondering if you felt, Laura, that we needed to add something in there about the Open Meetings Act or.
Well, I was going to bring that up when we get down to meeting calls, because I think that
Okay.
addresses that issue as well. And I'll just tell you, my point is when we talk about three members calling it, if three members are talking to agree to something, that needs to be at a meeting. If we're talking about communications outside of a meeting, we do not want it to be a quorum. It's one thing when we're talking about a poll to cancel a meeting, and polling doesn't violate the OMA, but when we're talking about people together making a decision, even if that decision is to have a special meeting, I'd rather that not be a quorum outside of a public meeting.
Right, we're on makeup meetings now.
No, I understand,
Oh,
but
okay.
the same concern though, because if you jump 2 down, right, it's how you call those special session, or how you call special session meetings. Makeup meetings is talking about special session meetings as well.
But the problem, I shouldn't jump ahead here, but here I go. This is the one that's covered by section 4.6 of the charter.
Right, that's right, yeah.
So we can't change that 3 members. Sorry, guys, this is under meeting calls.
No, but I think it might be wise, and I'm also jumping ahead to indicate that that is done at a meeting. But we can go back to where we're actually at.
Can't we do it in both places?
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering as well.
Right, and that was my question, even though in a meeting, it's 3 members because the charter requires it. My question here for you was, do we need an amendment regarding outside of a meeting in that circumstance for the Open Meetings Act?
Yep, I'm just pulling up that charter language again. My bottom line is going to be, regardless of what your charter said, you can't have a quorum making decisions outside an open meeting.
Where we at with this? I got a little confused on this part.
I'm a little confused too.
I don't know.
So Laura, are you suggesting your note on, note number 4, rescheduled regular meetings must be noticed in accordance with the Open Meetings Act? Do you want to add that back into the makeup meetings paragraph?
Not necessarily. Again, I don't think it has to be spelled out exactly like that. So I'm not sure I have a problem with saying that special session meetings can be set as a replacement. What I wanted to be careful of was somebody reading this and saying, okay, 3 of us can jump on the phone and talk about special meeting on some topic, and that wouldn't be appropriate.
Are you still talking about meeting cancellations, Laura, or are you someplace else?
No, I'm talking about makeup meetings and then meeting calls, because I don't think you can talk about, you asked me about the Open Meetings Act concern with makeup meetings.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Okay,
So what's wrong with the deletion that?
nothing. I don't have a problem with
I
that
think
deletion.
that's good.
Okay,
Yeah.
So can't we move on?
Okay, so
We're down, 4's good. We're moving down to
5.
5.
Does it stay that
So,
mayor or 3 members, then let's stay in for meeting calls?
well, this is the one that if you look at the comments, number 5, the attorney comments, she's suggesting I would make this 2 members instead of 3, but in follow-up with Laura, I looked at the charter and 4.6 requires 3 members, but that's in the context of a meeting. And I'm not going to speak for Laura, she could speak for herself, but her concern was if this was happening outside of a meeting, you wouldn't want 3 people. So my understanding was you were going to try to maybe draft something and delineate between the 2.
Well, so what the charter says is special meetings of the city council shall be called by the city clerk on the written request of the mayor or of any 3 council members, period. And what I was saying is you can't have three council members, like I said, jumping on the phone or sitting at the coffee shop and decide to have a special meeting. I think that's too risky in terms of the Open Meetings Act. So I'm not sure you can say it should just be two, which is how I typically would have you do it absent that charter provision. But you might need language that says, too many tabs open here. Or by any three members of the city council during a meeting.
Right.
I love it.
I'm okay with that. Otherwise, I'm okay with the mayor having discretion to call a special meeting, whatever.
Yeah, the charter gives the mayor that power, so the mayor on his or her own can do that.
It also gives that power though to any three members, so.
Correct.
Okay.
Mayor, may I mention something? And Laura, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Under the meeting calls paragraph that we are discussing right now, where it says notices of special session meetings must be provided at least 24 hours in advance. Can that just generically be comply with OMA? Because notices for any special meetings is 18 hours, I believe.
It is for the OMA, but that same charter provision requires that notice be provided to council members 24 hours in advance. So the public notice can be 18, but 4.6 of the charter says written notice of the meeting shall be served personally to each council member or left at his place of residence no less than 24 hours before the time the meeting is to begin.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So Laura, I'm just wondering, as a side ask, as we're going through this, if you could maybe make some marks or asterisks or something where there's parts of our charter, should we ever get to a charter revision, that we can have on our radar?
Sure.
I would think that that would be a separate undertaking by her in city council.
Well, it absolutely is, but as we're going through this, we're noting things along the way that.
Okay. 6. Number 6, joint meetings.
Councilman Demore's question was, do we need anything regarding notice requirement for joint meetings? Or could it be incorporated elsewhere? To my way of thinking, notice is standard. Standard public notice is something we follow in every instance. I don't know that we necessarily need to add it here, but I don't see the harm either.
Well, and that's kind of to that point. You don't need a policy that says you can have joint meetings either. I mean, this is sort of stating a fact that regardless of whether this is in your policy, you can do this.
Yeah.
So my question to you is just, do you think we need it here or?
I don't see how it adds anything. I'm not sure it gives you direction on anything because you already can do that. And you would have to comply with the notice requirements, but that's all just a matter of Open Meetings Act law.
So we don't need it in here.
I don't see what it adds. The only reason I assume it was in here was in case you had members of council who didn't know they could have joint meetings, and then you'd have this, hey, we can do this.
Right. But nothing about.
But you have the right whether it's there or not.
Excuse me. Nothing.
No, I mean, you could have a whole document on how to conduct a joint meeting, but I don't know that you need to in your council policies.
Okay.
Changes there.
Okay. Moving on. Joint action.
Maybe read 7.
Yeah, joint action, my question was, I really didn't understand what the first sentence meant, so.
Well, and this comment wasn't necessarily meant to go word for word into the policy. I think if I recall, it's been a little bit since I wrote this. But again, if you take out the one above, I'm not sure you really need that either.
I'm sorry, are you suggesting delete the whole joint action
Well,
paragraph?
I guess I'm not this is your policy, and as Shane said, a lot of these are business decisions, but I guess what I would ask is, what does this add, or what does this do that isn't just already a matter of what the city can do? It's kind of like saying, well, the city can adopt ordinances. Well, yes, you can, regardless of whether you have a policy that says so.
Yeah.
Right, and you agreed that the meaning of the highlighted section is unclear, so I'm never a fan of leaving something in that's unclear because really doesn't serve its purpose to inform people of anything.
So are you saying you just delete it entirely?
I think you can.
Yes.
Is that what Laura's saying?
Yeah, I think you can. Again, it's up to you, but I don't
And
see
we
where,
can-
again, it's adding anything.
Joint action just out. Closed session. And shall be followed, shall be sought from the city attorney and followed.
I love having something in writing that says you have to follow my advice, but I'm not sure that's actually correct.
Well, generally speaking, I would not include that. Let me put that out there.
I'm not happy with it there.
Well, if the city attorney tells us that it's not appropriate to go into a closed session, under what circumstances would we go into a closed session? This is not saying, generally speaking, we have to follow her advice, but it's saying concerning the appropriateness of conducting closed session meetings of the city council.
Much as I,
Either.
yeah, much as I joke that I love having that in writing, I'm not sure you can bind council to make a decision a certain way.
So just take the and followed out and call it good, right?
Well, that was
Yeah.
my suggested ad.
Yeah, the, and followed was,
Yeah. That was my suggested
Okay,
ad.
and followed is out, paragraph stands.
Are we
Meeting,
keeping
we're
going?
gonna do a little more here, we've got a few more. Meeting agendas and minutes.
Note number 10 on agenda preparation, she just suggested we delete the word generally. I was okay with that, and Councilman Nachtraub said he didn't agree.
Again, I like the wiggle room language. Generally seems okay to me, but
Well, I think Laura,
I'm not gonna put up a big fight about that, hell no.
no, I think Laura earlier said she liked it. Is
I
that
like,
right?
I do like wiggle room.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, just for the reason, again, that let's say something slips through the crack and it's not provided, is somebody going to then use that as an additional basis to try to invalidate council action?
Okay, leave it.
General, leaving
It's
it.
2 pages. Are we keeping going?
Let's stop.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to get to the end of 2 full pages. So we will pick up. We will pick up under inclusion request. How's that?
Item 11,
Okay?
progress.
Yes, thank you all.
Why don't
That
Good
would
work.
help.
Why don't you bring this stuff with us at the next meeting, because it'll probably be on the agenda.
It'll be a recurring agenda item.
So bring your stuff with you. All right.
This is completed by 2030.
Well, or later, but now we're going back. Now we're going back to new business. And that is approve Bayfront fireworks display permit for July 4th, 2027.
I move for acceptance of this permit.
Support.
We have a motion from Mr. Wilmot, a second from Mr. Moore, right? Okay. Discussion, Mr. Knobtrop.
I have a question. Is the basis for that, for your motion, strictly because that's the way it's in the days in the ordinance? So we're saying it, are you saying okay because it's in the allowable days in the ordinance?
In part, yes, but it's also the 4th of July, and it's an appropriate celebration on the 4th of July.
But it's also in the ordinance. It's in the, that's
It's in the-
kind of the idea of the window.
Absolutely.
Mm-mm.
Mr. Moore?
Just for clarity, you're making a motion on,
The July 4th.
Okay. I thought we already had a motion on
Bay
that.
front-
Apologies.
No, we did not. We
Okay.
had a motion to move it out of consent agenda and
Got
move
it.
into discussion as a new business.
We have a public comment on this one.
Do I have public comment on this?
This is the July 4th one?
Yes.
Actually,
This is the July 4th.
not this one.
Any other discussion, council? Public wish to weigh in on this? To be none, I go to Ms. Becker, city clerk, for roll.
Wilmot.
Yes.
Moore.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Doctorab.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye. Motion for the Bayfront water fireworks passes 5-0. Next, we approve possible approval of a private Bay Harbor fireworks display permit for August 8th, 2026. You wish to have any questions, comments? What would you like to know about? I feel what we need to do is probably, as a council, someplace in the future here, put this on the agenda, regardless of what we happen, what we're doing with this. But I think we should talk about it in that way. Everybody feels good about what's the plan is going to the future. Do I have a motion?
I just had a comment.
Okay.
So I'm to a degree conflicted on this one because these folks did go through the existing process that we have.
Yep.
But the flip side is, I do think to a degree, it sets a precedent. So for my part, as I'm thinking in real time, if we move this forward, I definitely want us to have a policy in place because I think it'd be very difficult to kind of suss out which we say yes to and which we say no to if we don't have a policy in place. So that's what I have.
Is this one you see in violation of the practice of that is set forth now that we are utilizing as a yardstick?
No, in fact, what I just said was it appears based on what the city manager has advised us that this has followed the process that's in place.
Right.
But there is no policy in
Right.
place. So I said, it seems that this went forward executing with the process in place and appeared to have complied with
Right.
the regulations that are in place, but I have concerns about this going forward.
Okay. Mr. Knobloch.
You know, I agree rather strongly about creating the policy. I think that makes sense. Total makes sense. And I'm also a little conflicted about it. At the same time, I think if it's been something that they follow the rules, they're being professional about it. I sometimes feel like we're worried about what happened last summer I would just almost mention the name, with the other ones that had caused a little bit of problem. Now we're just a little frustrated by it. And it seems to me that we ought to let them go with this one, but immediately do the policy.
Wilmot.
Well, the fact that they followed a process for submitting an application does not require that it's automatic. It's still subject to our approval. The ordinance says may, not shall. So the fact that they have submitted an application does not guarantee the acceptance of that application. That is up to council. And council is currently saying that without a policy in place for more closely administering any other exceptions outside of the dates currently listed in the ordinance, I think it's appropriate to table this until that policy is in place.
Mr. Moore.
Yeah, what about that idea? Since we're looking at August, is there any reason we couldn't try to develop something time-wise? I mean, I don't know
I don't know
timeline.
about the Coast Guard and DNR and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what all those approvals, how long that takes and how long they need to have things scheduled out for, but
Would you like this to be on the next agenda?
No.
No, I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about the policy that we'll be looking at. Mr. Knoptrop.
You know, when you say the process and just delay it, having been involved in the yacht club fund or fireworks for many, many years, the schedule is a big deal with these guys. So if we're going to delay it and pull it and kind of push it down the table, down the road, that's a big deal. It's expensive and the scheduling is tough. I'm hoping, I'm not suggesting this, I'm hoping that we're not singling out Bay Harbor because they're the only ones, they're the only ones really have the space that actually could pull this off. You know, it's not a backyard thing. It's way out in the bay and they're way out there and it's a very safe process. So I just hope that's not happening.
Mr. Wilmot, whoever you are.
Absolutely not, in my opinion. It's really more about the dates and when fireworks are appropriate to, for the people who enjoy fireworks, that's great. For the people that find fireworks to be an inconvenience in their lives, we have a calendar of events. And personally, my vote is to stick to that calendar.
Ms. Walker.
I feel like because this is a Michigan state law and the permits that were filed pertain to the state of Michigan with the reference to the local municipality or jurisdiction, I'm perfectly fine with moving forward with this tonight.
I'll ask the public. I don't ask them until after there's a motion. This council has a second, discusses it, and then I go to the public. That's the way the process is supposed to go. Mr. Knoptrop.
I would like to make a motion to approve this fireworks on whatever date it is. August 8th. Provided that they have complied with all our normal requirements. Thank you.
I'll second the motion, Mayor.
A motion, Mr. Knoptrop, second from Ms. Walker. Other discussions? Would you, a question to those two that I know are not supporting this motion? I think I know who. Would you be entertaining the idea of this next month? We review this policy? Or is that not?
I'm happy to review the policy, although I'm unlikely to vote against it if it's outside the dates that are currently established in the ordinance.
Laura, do you wish to weigh in on this at all?
No.
Hold on.
There we go. Yeah, I was just looking at the statute and it contemplates the local governing authority ruling on basically the competency and the qualifications, but it doesn't provide, I'm unmuted, right? Yeah, okay. It doesn't provide any more detailed parameters for how one does that. So you certainly have the authority to approve this. You have the application, whatever other materials they submitted. I'll leave it up to council whether or when you want to adopt more specific guidelines.
This falls within the legalities of the city fireworks at this point.
Yes, I think both your ordinance contemplates this as well as the state law.
Other discussion, council?
Public comment?
After,
I think we were.
any other council comments? No? I go to the public for comment. Please come down.
Kate Marshall, 1015 East Mitchell. I didn't anticipate being here for this because I didn't know it was on the agenda, but I was on council when the new dates came out and everyone was relieved that there was some control as to when fireworks could actually happen. Because as Mr. Wilmot says, some people don't like them. Some people can't sleep. Some people's dogs go crazy. Some people just don't enjoy them the way others do. So it created at least containment for that experience. If Bay Harbor is the only place that can do this, although I wonder, could we all get together and rent a barge and celebrate John's birthday out there? And then you might have to look at that. Well, of course, maybe that's a possibility. But if it's only Bay Harbor, then how many events can there be in Bay Harbor that go beyond the prescribed time? And you could just have multiple events. So I agree with two of you, I think, who want to keep to the dates. I question whether or not you should be approving the current application before you've made a decision on everything else. And I don't know why there is the urgency to do that. Thank you. Good luck.
Anyone else wish to speak? Go to Ms. Beck for a roll.
Naktrab,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Wilmot,
No.
Demore,
Nay.
and Murphy.
Thank you. I'm going to say no with the understanding that this will be scheduled for review of the practice. So within time, so that if there is a change on the city's, city council, there's time enough for this gentleman, whoever he is, to have time to consider coming back to city council with it. So I'm going to ask city council or city manager to put this on the agenda in the month of March so that we can review this and make sure that we have down pat. Do we have a permit system in place that is usable by all? Has guidelines that we can utilize this? Next. Adoption of proposed resolution that would authorize to adjourn to closed session pursuant MCL 15.2681E to consult with attorney regarding trial or settlement strategies in connection with specific litigation. City of Petoskey, U.S. District Court from the Western District of Michigan. Case number 125 CV 01027 and MC 1526818 to consider materials exempt from privileged written legal opinions. I turn it to city council and ask for a motion.
I'm happy to make a motion as set forth in the agenda.
Support.
Motion from Mr. Moore, second from Mr. Wilmot. Any other discussion? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Demore,
Aye.
Wilmot,
Aye.
Naktrab,
Aye.
Walker, Murphy.
We will be coming for adjournment after this, but there will be no further business, I believe, to come before this council. Have a good evening to those that stayed.
Maybe asleep. Where's my dinner? It's cold by the sink.
Dinner by the sink.
Reconvene.
My dinner's gonna be cold. Fine.
I am hungry.
Little microwave.
19.
Wait, are you guys doing council?
Well, we reconvened at 9:19.
I can't
And then, are you not doing council comment?
Well, I normally.
Public comment, comments, Ms. Walker,
No comment.
There, I guess.
Mr. Natab,
None tonight.
Mr. Wilmot,
I'm good.
Ms.
None,
Moore.
none tonight.
Mayor has no comments. No further business coming before this council. I call this meeting adjourned. Go home and spread the good word.